Right, there's been 3 or 4 boxing stories broken today relating to the love triangle between Anthony Joshua, Derek Chisora and Robert Helenius. I'm going to try and, we'll throw in a bit of David Haye actually, for good measure. I want to try and neatly wrap those up into one video. May work, may not work, leave your comments below. But first piece of news, Robert Helenius has vacated the European title. This comes as a surprise to me. I cannot understand why he's vacated the European title. One possible solution would be that he doesn't want to fight Derek Chisora in a rematch. Derek Chisora was his mandatory obligation. Possibility 2 is I believe he's very highly rated in the IBF, and having seen Charles Martin the other day, he may fancy going down the world title route as opposed to getting in 50-50 fights for the title. Or option number 3, which a lot of people are speculating on Twitter, was that he was given some sort of step-aside deal to vacate the belt. And I'll come to why he would be given that sort of deal in just a second. So, with Helenius gone, Derek Chisora fights for the vacant European title. The number 1 challenger that Chisora would have to face is Vladimir Klitschko. He won't be able to fight for the belt as he's got a rematch with Fury. The number 2 competitor Derek Chisora would have to face is Alexander Povetkin. Yet again, he won't be going to fight for the Euro belt because, as we know, he's going down the WBC route and is involved in a soon-to-be title fight there by all accounts. So the number 3 fighter for Derek Chisora to fight against for the vacant Euro belt is none other than Anthony Joshua. And this is why people are speculating that Robert Helenius was given some sort of step-aside deal in order to, to leave the path clear for Eddie Hearn and the Sauerlands, who are obviously on very good terms, to organise Anthony Joshua versus Chisora for the European belt. You know, Joshua, he's got the British belt, he's got the Commonwealth belt, he's following that sort of classic route, and I guess adding this title to his collection would certainly be a step in the right direction on the way up to world level. So, very, very interesting. Now, what's happened in addition to this? Haye Sauerland, or sorry, it might have been Nisa Sauerland, one of the Sauerland brothers has then come out and made a statement or made some comment stating that Derek Chisora would be up for the Joshua fight. At the same time, Eddie Hearn's made a comment saying that they're looking to fight for a world title belt, not against David Haye. You know, they're not interested in the David Haye fight at this stage, they're looking to build a path to the world title fight. So what seems to have happened is Helenius has vacated the belt, Team Chisora have done a sudden U-turn and have become open to the Anthony Joshua fight. Let's not forget that Chisora didn't seem overly interested in that fight. He seemed more motivated by, avenging his defeat to Robert Helenius. And then Team Joshua, who, we'd often speculated there'd be a Joshua Haye fight. I know Eddie Hearn had speculated that as well. Hearn's then come out and said, we're not looking at David Haye right now. So for me, the 3 incidents all seem inexplicably linked, and I think what we are definitely heading towards is a pay-per-view event in April which will feature Anthony Joshua versus Derek Chisora for the European title. It possibly also ties in with why the Fury fight has been booked for May. I did say in my earlier video, May seems like quite a long way away actually for this fight. I wonder why they didn't book it sooner. It's probably because Frampton Quigg will be Sky pay-per-view in February, Joshua Chisora will be Sky pay-per-view in April, and they wanted to have a little bit of space before a 3rd Sky pay-per-view, Fury Klitschko. So I reckon that's how it will break down, and Joshua Chisora. Now I actually like the fight. I think it's a good move for Joshua. I rate Chisora slightly higher than I do Dillian Whyte. I think Chisora is a credible test. He only loses to high-level opponents. He's got relatively good durability. And I think stylistically, Chisora has capacity to cause Joshua difficulties if he can get inside. And, a peak Derek Chisora hitting Anthony Joshua to the body and starving him of his range and not giving him room to move, I think Chisora can cause Joshua real problems. We'll come on to that in a different vid. I'm sure I'll do lots of videos between now and then discussing the breakdown of the fight. My point is, I actually don't dislike the Joshua Chisora fight. One of the things I said after the Dillian Whyte fight is perhaps we need to put the brakes on Joshua a little bit. He's still a young guy, he's still at the prospect stage, he's still learning his trade. There's no need to throw him into a world title fight yet. And Derek Chisora is the right kind of opponent to sort of build a prospect against. You know, Chisora can find your prospect out if he's not a top level prospect, but yeah, if you've genuinely got a fighter who you think is going to win a world title, he should be beating Derek Chisora. You know, as I say, I see it as a very competitive matchup, but we'll come on to that elsewhere. So I like the fight personally, but I think we will struggle. I don't think this fight will do as well as the Dillian Whyte fight, for two reasons. One, there's a perception that Dillian Whyte's a better fighter than Chisora. That could be right, that could be wrong. But Dillian Whyte was unbeaten. He punches harder than Chisora. He was knocking guys out left, right and centre. And a lot of people think Dillian Whyte wipes the floor with Chisora. So whilst I perhaps disagree, a lot of people will say this fight is actually a step in the wrong direction for Derek Chisora. Secondarily, there's no bad blood between Chisora and Joshua. And that's what really turned the Whyte fight into such a mega event. You know, the pre-fight build-up, the talk, you know, all of that sort of stuff really, really, really hyped that fight and made it the success it was. You know, Chisora, Joshua, if anything, they're like matey, aren't they? They've sparred together. You know, I think Finchley Gym, they've had, you know, a lot of time together, and they seem to be like on good terms. You know, so I think that's why I don't think this fight will do as well on pay-per-view. You know, yet to see an undercard announced, yet to even see this fight announced. But I doubt it will do as well as the Whyte fight because of the bad blood and because of the perception that Chisora isn't as good as Whyte, because we've seen Chisora take a few high-profile losses in his career. But nevertheless, I think it's a step in the right direction. You know, as for the David Haye thing, I would like to see Joshua David Haye from a fan perspective. I really would, you know. And I think, however, if I was managing Joshua, I wouldn't put him anywhere near David Haye right now, you know. Haye's a risky opponent. If you look at some of the gaps Dillian Whyte was able to find in their fight, with David Haye being such a big closer, I genuinely think David Haye would have closed the show on Joshua in the second round if he'd been in Dillian Whyte's position there. You know, David Haye is a really, really good finisher of fights, and it would be such a big step up for Joshua. You know, there really is no need to rush him. Joshua is a novice. You know, he's a prospect. He's a very good novice, a very good prospect, but he's not there yet. And I think throwing him to David Haye, whilst it would do good pay-per-view numbers, whilst it would sell a few tickets, probably wouldn't be the right thing to do for a young fighter's development. So, you know, if I was managing Joshua, I'd want to build him a bit more. And, you know, whilst David Haye is a big fight and it would do massive numbers, Joshua's just done 450,000 buys and sold out an arena for a British title fight. So Joshua's proving that he could do very, very good numbers even without a David Haye. And for me, if I was managing him and promoting him, I wouldn't want to risk my investment at this stage. You know, David Haye's 35. The fight will still be there next year or the year after. It might be better to give Joshua that experience and let David Haye get a bit older. You know, don't get me wrong, from a fan perspective, it's a fight that I'd like to see yesterday. But we've got to be realistic. And looking at the mechanisms behind it, you know, would you stick Joshua in there with David Haye at this stage if you were managing him? Probably not. It's a sensible move, you know. Hearn said that they're definitely wanting to target a world title route rather than David Haye. Now, let's put it this way. They've got no chance of going down the WBA route. If you've seen the new WBA tournament announced, I did a video on that yesterday, so check that out if you haven't. But, you know, those belts are going to be clogged up for 2016, 2017, I should imagine. The WBC route, you know, how long has Povetkin and Wilder been waiting to happen? You know, that fight is obviously going to take a long time still to organise. So Joshua would have to wait till that fight's happened, allow voluntaries and then go. You know, for me it appears that most likely Joshua is going to go down the IBF route of fighting Charles Martin. You know, I know he's highly rated by the IBF, and Charles Martin winning that belt has really opened a few things up, you know, because people see him as an easy mark. I think wrongly. I don't think he's as easy as people say he will be, but a lot of people say he's very slow, very stiff, no movement at all, and he's going to be easy work. And whilst I like Charles Martin, he probably is easier work at this point than fighting a Deontay Wilder or fighting a Tyson Fury. Not that I think Wilder's any great sakes, but, You know, he's proved himself at a higher level than Charles Martin. So I think that's the route they're going to go down, you know. I think we're going to have a Chisora pay-per-view in April. Perhaps another fight in between. I wouldn't want to speculate on opponents just yet. And then towards the end of the year, autumn time, winter time, maybe an IBF title shot. I think that's what they're aiming for. But expect to see Anthony Joshua versus Chisora coming to a pay-per-view near you. Let me know your thoughts. Do you like the fight? How do you see it going? Will you be paying $17.99 or whatever it is to watch it? Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the update, really would appreciate it if you click the thumbs up button. Do subscribe to the channel. I'll cover all the build-up leading up to this fight should it be made. If it's not made, I'll cover up to it again. I'll cover that as well. So yeah, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on those videos. Thanks for watching.